Tali since imali abatala bathi nginenkani bathi nginjena khale imali yo hamba back outside like quick.
You have reached the Underdog Research Channel, and I'm the principal researcher for this channel, Underdog Researcher. Last time we was here, we talked about Project Turbo 2025, Part 1. And today we are here for Part 2 of this research. We went over the what was with ShibaInu, what is with Bored Ape Yacht Club, and what can be with Turbo Crypto. And I told you about the research, how we look at both the utility and also the meme research. But I do something different. I look in between and I find out how to look at this project with different sets of eyes. So today we're going to go over the big five and find out in part 2 if this project has a underdog potential. You remember a connection I told you earlier about the $1 billion in India? Well, I wasn't the person who first brought this to you. Someone else you need to know about. Blackrue Investing, the Crypto-Rue podcast. You will find a research he did. And what did he say? And why is this connected?
We will be talking about Indian connections. And today we're also going to talk about Draper VC connections, okay? And we're going to tell you why that's important. I'm going to share here an article I found in the Economic Times, India Times version. So, Silicon Valley Crypto Fund, Draper Dragon eyes India debut. So this was November 30th, 2021. So we already know after this, they actually got that India debut and they ended up having DCX, one of the biggest platforms, in just a year or two later. They say this is likely to invest 75 to 100 million in Indian blockchain and crypto startups. So this is an interesting look at what's going on here because we're looking almost back in time. So, you know, they told us here on November 30th, 2021, they were going to do it. They were going to go do stuff in India. This is from Indian time. So this is, you know, from an Indian paper. And then lo and behold, later, they end up having the biggest blockchain exchange in India. Just crazy. But one of the things I want down to is here. They're going to note a couple places that Draper Dragon is in. Shiba Capital, we dug into Shiba Capital and we saw that the funders of Shiba Capital were Draper related. We also dug into the owners of the funding of Animoca Brands, and that was also Draper backed. But for now, I put it in connections. These are all the ones that seem to be frequently connected with Draper stuff. This is Draper University, the school that Draper owns, which he basically is like churning out all of these different possible millionaire or billionaire startup companies. It's amazing. He's like creating billionaires over here. Always see him connected to these VCs. So if you see these VCs, chances are Draper might have a connection there with it. So especially on the first tier, if you see the first tier of VCs, he owns it. If you see the second tier, he may have some indirect connection. But you know, you're going to miss some and then you're going to not miss some. I think that's the big trick. They always make you think intensive or time sensitive. You're going to just, you know, put yourself in line for that next one.
Put yourself in line for the next one. Blackrue Investing told you in his research about the American billionaire Tim Draper, Draper Dragon, about his connections in India. He told you if you see Shiba Capital, then you know there's maybe a connection to this billionaire. And he showed you that if you see Animoca Brands, it's also a connection to this billionaire. And Tim Draper, check out Blackrue Investing. If you don't know who he is, you better find out. He gives the quiet king Tim Draper, one of the biggest investors in the crypto blockchain space, a billionaire, also invested in Shiba Capital and through MetaPath and SWFT blockchain. And now we have Turbo partner up with Animoca Brands. Now, there is something you need to know, though. Those indicators, I'm bringing it back. Did you notice that India 3 years ago, there is a indicator with ShibaInu as well? Back then, $1 billion was given by Ethereum co-founder, was given to India May 10th, 2021 with ShibaInu. But now we have another connection through Animoca Brands, which is directly partnered with the first AI grassroots token with Animoca Brands through Motorverse. And what is so interesting about Animoca Brands that you need to know, what Turbo needs to understand, what their big brother Animoca Brands is doing. See, Animoca Brands Japan invest in global entertainment company RainShine Global Incorporated. Pay attention, folks. 8 March 2023, Animoca Brands has a strategic subsidiary, Animoca Brands Corporation Limited. They announced a strategic investment in RainShine Global. Who is RainShine? Well, it's a Delaware-based entertainment company specializing in creator-led storytelling with a winning combination of creative, technological, and business innovation talent. RainShine, a global, has a strong track record in creating and distributing content with a particular focus on Web3 content and a presence in India, the United States, United Kingdom, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. Did y'all catch that? I'm not going to run it back. Pay attention. With Animoca Brands Japan's strategic investment in RainShine Global, the two companies aim to build a gateway for Japanese intellectual properties to reach a new global market. In addition to original anime IPs from RainShine Global's content vault will be brought to Japan, providing a significant boost to the global growth plans of IP owners in Japan, living up to a motto of Japanese IP to the world. Animoca Brands Japan will continue to strengthen its cooperation with Animoca Brands and investment in Japan's Web3 creators. Now, if you didn't know, Animoca Brands CEO for Japan is Motoki Tani. Now, he says, we are thrilled to partner with RainShine Global, a leader in creating and distributing global Web3 content in India, US, UK, Middle East, and Southeast Asia. This partnership will bridge Japan and India and Middle East and Japanese content, which is so widely loved around the world. Adapting Japanese IPs into regional formats will allow us to distribute a broader community as a part of the global strategy. Folks, do you understand what Christina Chen said to you earlier about community when she talked about the Bored Ape Yacht Club and how community was what made Yuga Labs get such a huge investment, which I talked about in my videos? And Yuga Labs was the Bored Ape Yacht Club. And now you got Turbo, who is connected with Big Brother, not only Animoca Brands, but Animoca Brands Japan, who has a direct connection to RainShine, who does best in all these areas: the Middle East, Southeast Asia, United Kingdom, Japan, United States, India. And why is this important for Turbo and their big brother? Well, let's talk about RainShine. Neeraj Bhargava, the founder of RainShine, commented about this partnership with Animoca Brands Japan. RainShine Global backs creator-led storytelling with the best tech and business innovation to take their IPs to global fans. Working with Animoca Brands Japan allows us to fulfill our shared vision of taking great regional content to global markets with specific focus on taking Indian content to Japan and beyond, and bringing Japanese content primarily to India and the Middle East. Folks, Turbo is in a position, regional content, whether it's in India, Japan, or through Animoca Brands, is a part of this greater ecosystem. So you thought it was just simply the Motorverse and that connection that Animoca Brands owns, where they're directly partnered with the first grassroots AI project
with Turbo, but it's bigger than that. And where are they located? Well, that's important to know because regulations, folks. See, Animoca Brands is located in Tokyo, Japan, and it's a provisional Web3 platform construction. But RainShine is right here in New York, New York, the good old United States of America. It has global reach, and that is important. But we're going to go further because we're still letting you know how this is going to affect Turbo, where you thought it was just a simple partnership, folks. You're thinking about when Binance, when Coinbase. You should have been asking when Animoca Brands. This is huge. Let's keep going and find out what other connections we have. See, Swift Blockchain on May 12, 2023, in my previous research, I announced this. But this part you didn't know. Swift Blockchain announces that they have a partnership. Discover the dynamic collaboration between Swift Blockchain and AnCrypto and MetaPath. Now, you remember I told you about MetaPath, Shima Capital. I know it's a lot of information, but I know you can follow along because you can go to the links in the description, look at the time-coded video, and run it back until it sinks in exactly how big this is. They have Shima Capital, who directly has Animoca Brands, Yatsu, and Animoca Brands is connected to MetaPath, and MetaPath is connected to these companies such as Bored Ape Yacht Club, and they have this now, they being Turbo, their connection. But AnCrypto, what is that? Well, I'm not going to go through all of it today, but let's talk about what AnCrypto does. See, AnCrypto, this collaboration, introduces gas-free Tron transfers. Gas-free Tron transfers? What does this have to do with Turbo? China. You see, Tron is one of the largest assets in China, already implemented, already being used. And on exchanges, those tier 1 exchanges that everybody wants to get on, these is how the money moves. So now Turbo has a connection with MetaPath through AnCrypto and Swift Blockchain that allows it to have big brother Animoca Brands get that project everywhere, including Tron. And just so you know, there is Christina Chen, the one you watched earlier, Alex Witt of Swift Blockchain and CMO of MetaPath, Alex Witt, who created part of the intellectual property for Swift Blockchain, and Justin Sun, the CEO and creator of Tron. And he also is what? Connected to Hubu Global, HTX, one of the largest exchanges, one of the ones that you want this project to be on, and they have a direct connection, and Turbo gets to get all these connections through that one connection that I told you about through Animoca Brands. This is what's going on. But we're not done. I'm just warming up. See, MetaPath is the Web3 gaming with Swift Blockchain. And I told you in my videos, go to the playlist, check out MetaPath Part 1 about the Billionaire Blueprint, connected it all. And we walked through MetaPath. And you learn that MetaPath is owned by Swift Blockchain. It's their intellectual property. I'm not going to run it all back because you can just watch the video and get those connections. And you see, Yatsu of Animoca Brands is directly connected to the creation of MetaPath by investing in it in 2022. And he's one of the greatest investors. And you find out in my previous videos with MetaPath platform what is happening. Well, in the overview of MetaPath, we found out there's going to be 2 products. And you need to know this because you need to know how this meme coin that is changing to go mainstream is going to get around through these broad networks of blockchains. See, MetaPath platform will have a MetaPath protocol in phase 2. And the platform has already been created in phase 1. And that way you can get paid on every transaction. And we found out with the new roadmap on my MetaPath Part 2 and the SWFTCOIN 3 video that you can see in the playlist, that Path is the same as MetaPath, and this year in the third quarter, PATH and PBT are the two tokens that will be created to help with this ecosystem. And the 2024 roadmap shows you this. So MetaPath phase 1 platform and phase 2 is in quarter 3 is the same as the roadmap that we showed you here. Now, I'm not going to catch you up right now, but you need to know that July to September, quarter 3 and quarter 4, it'll be huge as this starts to be implemented going into 2025. Now, in part 1 of the Billionaire Blueprint, we need to go further because I told you about Animoca Brands investment in Puffer. And I know by now, someone has to say, Underdog Researcher, you beat me up. You're hooking and jabbing. You're hitting me from the top, the middle, and the bottom. I don't even know what all this is. It'll all come clear if you just simply go watch the videos I provided in my playlist. Watch the SWFTCOIN blockchain videos. Watch the MetaPath videos. Watch the Billionaire Blueprint. It's a lot of information. By the time you finish watching these videos, I guarantee you, you'll be the most informed, the most knowledgeable, and understand the connections of why Turbo has just got one of the biggest partners they could have ever imagined. And when the floodgates opened, this is their connections throughout the whole ecosystem. As Christina Chen said, global NFT ecosystem. And as we learned with what we find out about Bored Apes, what they say is going to be the new stuff that's going to help move that you need to pay attention to. Are you paying attention, or are you just simply win Moon, win Lambo, win Binance, win Coinbase? You need to look deeper, folks. Let's keep going. We find out that Animoca Brands, we're going to keep following it because you need to see the billionaires, has invested. And what we found out in 2023, Animoca Brands invested in Puffer Finance. But what is Puffer Finance? I talked to you about that. A $5.5 million investment with Breven Howard. Alan Howard is his name. A multi-billionaire hedge fund and cryptocurrency investor, Rambo Lang with Swift Blockchain. And there he goes, the man himself, Yatsu of Animoca Brands. See, I just showed you that now Animoca Brands, that is the big brother now and partner with Turbo, has a billionaire that you didn't even know about, Alan Howard, who's invested as well as Yatsu, both of them billionaires, both of them in crypto. And Alan Howard is somebody you need to know about. He was one of the only billionaires who made more billions during the stock market crash. And he is one of the billionaires who is also seen right beside Yatsu of Animoca Brands and Swift Blockchain Rambo Land invested in Puffer Finance. And I told you about that. And I showed you Shiba Capital, these connections, and you see it. Direct connections, but I'm still not done, folks. Taking a look at this a little bit closely. A push for decentralization. Puffer Finance raises $5.5 million to redefine liquid Ethereum staking. Now, this was an article that was done on August 8th, 2023. And let's see exactly who their investors are. Well, right off the bat, can you see that? There's Rambo, the founder of North America Blockchain Association. The same Rambo Land that is the CEO of SWFTCOIN. And we're not done. Breven Howard Digital, the same hedge fund CEO billionaire, is invested in Puffer. Here we have Animoca Ventures as well. Now, I'm not even going to go in the other ones. I'm just going to pick out the three that I had already told you about. We got Breven Howard, Animoca Ventures, and we got SWFTCOIN CEO, who was an angel investor also in this project. But you don't have to believe me. Let's take a closer look. Who provided finances? And here we have it here. We can see that we got Breven Howard Digital, Bankless Ventures, Animoca Ventures. On that full list, you can see the names is right there, folks. Animoca Brands, Alan Howard, Swift Blockchains, Ramble Lane. Some of these folks you have never heard of before. They have already made billions in the market, and they are in direct connection with Puffer. And you don't understand what Puffer is yet, because that's in my upcoming videos, but I discuss Puffer Finance, and there's a lot of connections there. But this is the ecosystem. But I also discuss Animoca Brands investment in 2023 to Eigen Layer, or aka Eigen Layer, however you want to pronounce it. And you're thinking to yourself, Underdog Researcher, you're killing me. I'm trying to understand. You didn't hit me upside the head. And I know I have. I know I have. And you thought that when you started this research, I was going to simply look at price action and market cap and Coinbase listings. And I'm showing you a different way to research. The in-between. It's not quite a meme coin and not quite utility. It's something else happening. A partnership changed it. And the partners, a strategic partner, made this project different. But let's go about Eigen Layer. What is that and why does it matter? Now, by the way, before we go further, isn't Turbo on Ethereum? I digress. We'll keep going. We'll figure it out as we go. Let's keep going. So we see here that Eigen Layer, you see it right there, Token Pocket, a wallet, hard wallet, and Eigen Layer. This is all in my previous video, so you can go to my playlist and see it for yourself. We see that a push for decentralization, there's something called Eigen Layer. I started there so you can see it. Who is also invested with Animoca Brands and Puffer, and Freeman Howard Digital, the billionaire as well, and Puffer, and Ramble Lane. And what is this Eigen Layer, and why is that important? Now, Eigen Layer, this protocol was also investors saw with Ramble Lane, with Alan Howard, and from Animoca Brands, Billionaire. Now, why did they invest? We see Puffer Finance has a website. Well, I took a look at that website, and they have a total locked value of, you're reading it right, folks, $1,364,496,355.61. Locked. Right there at the bottom, can you see it? I'll put a check mark for you. That's 367.43 Ethereum. And Eigen Layer has 302.76 million. So Eigen Layer is the infrastructure for Puffer. And what it is doing? Puffer is a transformative in Ethereum staking. Yatsu, one of the greatest investors in Web3, who is dominating the market, aggressively taking over all these Web3 companies. With Animoca Brands held an AMA with the inventors of Eigen Layer, and they talk about the restaking and securing new middleware, the Open Metaverse podcast. And they discuss this. I'm going to check in with you folks. I need to ask you a question. I know I'm doing the research, but I need to ask you a question. Why? Why would Animoca Brands, who's partnered with Turbo and Motorverse, which is owned by Animoca Brands, and an ecosystem and one of the largest partners they could have possibly have dreamed of, Animoca Brands and Animoca Brands Japan, who's connected and invested in InPay. We talked about that. Lionsgate, Hasbro. We talked about their investment in RainShine, India, Southeast Asia, Middle East, UK, United States. And that's in good old New York, New York. Regulated by United States government in that area. And this MetaPath through Shiba Capital. And now we go into finance. Why would Yatsu, Animoca Brands, invest in Puffer Finance? That's the first question. And why would they invest in this thing called Eigen Layer with over $1 billion locked in it at the time in which that was shown? Maybe that's increased since then. And what is the connection between those networks that they have through SWFT and MetaPath that Turbo gets through their ecosystem of Animoca Brands with this $1 billion or more from all these various projects? And Motorverse, what is that? Isn't that one of the top gaming for driving? Where would the money go through? Well, I'm sure that's the question for you. Why? So to answer this question of the why, I have to work you through the bigger conversation and not just focus on one area. There's not just one reason. There's multiple things happening at the same time. But I know that you can capture these concepts. Follow along with me. You see, we talked about Eigen Layer just a moment ago. And I know this may be the first time you heard of Eigen Layer, but just stick with me for a moment. Now, Eigen Layer is the restaking of Ethereum, and Puffer Finance is part of that structure, and they're connected to one another. Now, what we saw was that this partnership that was announced on June 25th of 2024, most people don't understand why this is so big. As it says, Animoca Brands Motoverse partners with Turbo Token to boost the ecosystem engagement. Now, we focused throughout this whole conversation of the greatest Web3 investor in history, Yatsu, with Animoca Brands. But I didn't give you all the information that you needed. You see, what I didn't tell you is that Yatsu is the co-founder, executive chairman, and managing director. But there's a second person, Robby Young. He is the chief executive officer for North American operations. Oh, we're warming up. See, Robby Young is different than Yatsu, not only because of his position. You need a different perspective when you are entering a market from different angles, and Robby Young does that. He believes in the idea of the network effects across Web3. Let's talk about the power of networks, why they are positioning themselves with Turbo Project. Robby Young says, we believe in network effects across Web3. But what does that mean? You thought that it was just a partnership? Just a simple partnership, right? No, it's who you invest with, who you partner with means a lot. Why would Animoca Brands invest in a meme token? If it means nothing, if it has no value, then why? Well, let him tell you with his own words, the CEO of Animoca Brands, Robby Young.
Well, as you know, we are fundamentally a games company, and I think we're best known as one of the largest games company in particularly the Web3 space. And as well, we're an investor, the most active investor in Web3, I think, still to date. And we have a portfolio of about 500 businesses across all aspects of Web3 when it comes to, infrastructure or content. When we think about what has made, everything from telecommunications networks originally to social media companies so impactful, it's been this idea of network effects, that the power of the business, the attractiveness of the service, the influence, etc., the amount of data you collect grows exponentially with the size of the network as opposed to linearly. I spend most of my time actually looking at the investing side of the business. So we do that both strategically off the balance sheet, as well as through a venture capital fund and a private equity fund. The predominant business model of gaming is free-to-play gaming. So that means that players buy virtual currency and they spend that virtual currency on virtual items. And that kind of behavior, is really the de facto behavior of billions of gamers around the world. And so the idea of the usage of digital currency to buy digital assets is second nature to the 6 billion gamers around the world. And so we thought that this was actually the perfect way in which to introduce the benefits of blockchain and tokenization to this audience, because we don't have to explain to them the value of buying this virtual stuff. So we can essentially replace the in-game currency with a fungible token, like Ethereum, for example, or any other cryptocurrency. And we can replace the in-game content, or we can tokenize it, the playable content, as non-fungible tokens, or NFTs. The revenue from non-fungible tokens over the last, to give you some perspective, the gaming industry itself is about $200 billion a year. And that's, including all those 6 billion users. Because we tokenize all of our content and our value exchange, we can facilitate all of the exchange of these tokens across multiple software applications. Once you get to hundreds of millions or billions of connected users, where it just becomes so incredibly powerful as a result of all the connections that are made. You can take your stuff, whether it's your money or your game assets, from one game to another game to another game. But because it's tokenized, it's not just limited to games. If I buy a piece of digital art, I can take that tokenized NFT art and put it on the wall inside my virtual house, inside my game, because it all runs on the same token standards. And so if I can do that, then I can also take that piece of tokenized art and I can take it to a lending protocol and I can pledge it as collateral to get a loan, right, of cryptocurrency. And then I can use that in the game to buy more content, and I can use that content and I can pay back the loan for my art, and et cetera, et cetera. So all of these applications, regardless of the fact that they exist in a domain of gaming or art or decentralized finance, can all connect together. And it's because they can connect together that's what drove our investment strategy. Because in fact, why shouldn't we support a DeFi lending protocol? Because actually they're going to be lending to our gamers, et cetera.
Let's talk about it. The breakdown. Here's my analysis. I've walked you through so many points, and I expect that you're going to go to the time-coded video. And if you like this type of research, make sure you support the Underdog Research Channel and give a dog their bone and help me to grow this channel by supporting the work that I do to give you research over the hype. Let's break down this analysis from my perspective. I started the research on this project, the Big Five, and I said it must have the narrative, the community growth, community leadership, liquidity and accessibility, and significant partners. So let's check out if they meet the Big Five. The narrative. This project is focused on the community. It says it, therefore it is. The People's Token, 100% community owned. Turbo, the first AI generated meme coin. This cycle, AI and community are still the narrative of positive growth. Leadership, the community leadership. Everything I've done, this is by the creator, Ret Mankind. Everything I've done is to try and just make it decentralized. So I'm not in control. And I think that's where the beauty of this came from. It sort of blew up because I'm not running things. Everyone else is coming up with ideas and how to do something, and they're just implemented way better than I could even do myself. Community growth. Turbo is growing. We saw they had over 69,300 followers on Twitter and upwards in the thousands in their holders as well. Liquidity. Liquidity and accessibility. You can access this token on at least 37 exchanges. And these are top exchanges. Pay attention to some of the ones like MEX, EcoPay, OKX, Gay.io, Crypto.com, HTX. It's not just where they are located, it's the accessibility and liquidity with these exchanges currently right now. And significant strategic partnerships. See, Motorverse has a strategic partnership and they're owned by Animoca Brands, but don't forget Future Play. They create the future. It's also a part of this. And I haven't touched on that. And it's so important to understand how huge that partnership is between those three. And we saw the direct and secondary connections. Animoca partnership with TurboCrypto, directly connected with Lionsgate Films through their acquisition of Impay. Hasbro, they make toys, folks. Check it out. Go into the research. Look at what meme coins have become toys and how successful that is. That's research on its own. Yuga Labs. We know Animoca Brands created the Metaverse space for Other Deeds, for Bored Ape Yacht Club, and Yuga Labs. And we see this puffer in Eigen Layer. Eigen Layer, billions of dollars locked. When is it going to be released? What networks will it be used? And how does it connect to gaming? Puffer Finance. These are part of these secondary connections. And why is that important? Well, we talked about it. Why? What did we find out?
So each phase of NFTs, just going to speak for myself here, always picture that, okay, things are ramping up. This project's got this announcement. These guys got this coming. These guys got a new mint. These guys are going to be doing this. The biggest mistake I think most people are making right now is focusing on the old established projects. It's such a huge mistake. If history repeats, the next NFT cycle, the next NFT run, most of these ain't coming back, right? There's no new supply, so this is all people are focused on in NFTs. But most of these are not really coming back. It's going to be a whole new crop. And yeah, people will speculate like crazy on new stuff, right? If there's gains, if people can find profits, if there's like successful mints, all that stuff, that new mint meta is going to come back in full swing.
And I'll say again, the question should not be when Coinbase, when Binance. That is if you're using the methodology that does not meet this as utility. You need to look at research differently. The Underdog Research way. Find the middle ground. Why would Animoca Brands need to collaborate with Turbo? They have all these other connections. The why is the most important question. The why. And I've showed you some of the reasons why. But you don't believe it yet because all you see is the meme coin. You don't see the potential. You're not thinking like they are thinking. The grassroots engagement. Christina Chen of Swift Blockchain MetaPath talked about this. Community will be the driving force for the worldwide ecosystem. And the new things, as SlamX just stated, are the things you need to pay attention to. Growth is about community. Then I compared to ShibaInu. I'm seeing the same indicators to the now with Turbo. Then I compared it to Bored Ape Yacht Club, and we talked about this, and I'm seeing the indicators now. We saw the acquisition of Enway and what that meant with the Lionsgate and the Hasbro. We saw the connections of why Enway has all these connections with Sony, Tencent, Electronic Arts, Nintendo. These are the connections that they have. And MetaPath with Shima Capital and Animoca Brands brings the ecosystem available for Turbo. Animoca Brands Japan stated on June 9th, 2024, Animoca Brands Japan announces an NFT platform launching summer of 2024. It will support diverse sales and payment methods connecting Japanese IP with global community to promote Web3 adoption. Now, folks, before I even go further, what is all happening here? We see Animoca Brands just stated, in summer, they're launching this huge platform. We see that happening for Japan, and that is a part of the ecosystem by Turbo being within the family, if you will, under the guidance of Animoca Brand Partnership. That's the value Turbo received. And we see through RainShine, India, Southeast Asia, UK, Middle East, United States. And RainShine, where's it at? New York, New York. You don't have to worry about some company that you never heard of, that you don't know who the CEO is. You know exactly where it's located. And they have all these connections with Animoca Brands Japan as well, bringing these regional content to these different worldwide ecosystems. And what else we find out? Well, let me tell you a little bit about those top 4 that right now this project has connection to. Let's talk about the market. You want to talk about price action? Let's talk about price action. The gaming industry for Japan, Animoca Brands Japan, Animoca Brands, $24 billion, one of the world's largest and most influential notable companies. The industry began in the 1960s and grown to include some of the world's most iconic games such as Mario, Pac-Man, and Sonic the Hedgehog. In 2024, Japan's gaming market was valued at $24 billion, with mobile games being the most popular and profitable. China, we saw the connection with AnCrypto, MetaPath, and Swift blockchain, which is a part of this ecosystem invested into in 2022 by Animoca Brands, a part of the network that Animoca Brands brings to Turbo. China's gaming industry is a global powerhouse of $66 billion. It's also a major factor of growth of esports, and it is home of some of the largest video game companies in the world. China's revenues accounted for around 25% of global video game industry, which is worth almost 100 billion. And projections indicate that the industry will continue to grow with an increase of from 66.13 billion in 2024 to 95.51 billion in 2029. We talked about the United States, the connections right there. This is still part of the ecosystem that Animoca Brands brings to the gaming Web3 area. United States video game, largest in the world, and is considered by many the birthplace of modern gaming. 106 billion. In 2023, the industry was valued at that amount. Now, 2020, the record was slightly higher, but it was 110 billion. And 2029 is projected to be 90.79 billion with a B. We talked about India gaming industry. India is one of the largest and the fastest growing in the world with 3.1 billion. What are the similarities, folks? We talked about Nintendo. We talked about Lionsgate, Hasbro. There's some similarities. Think about Mario. Think about that. And let's think about Turbo. Some of the similarities, similar origins. Both started as 2D images, which were then turned into a game. Motorverse has done what? Connected with this project through Animoca Brands and to be part of their driving game. What is the future? Could it be it goes from this 2D image to a game, from a game to a movie? We see future play, Animoca Brands partnership. And we now know that Turbo, Animoca Brands, future play are connected in direct partnership.
The big partnership that announced was with Animoca Brands. If you don't know what that is, you're not alone. I didn't either. I hadn't heard of them initially, but after looking into them, they are really big in Web3 gaming, guys. And if you look, they are the people behind the sandbox. So why is this so important? Okay, people say you don't need utility for a meme token. This is building long-term, guys, and that's really what I want to put in y'all's head. This is an attempt to make a long-lasting meme coin, really coming after Doge as that #1 spot, guys. But when you look at this company, they're obviously behind, like I just said, the sandbox. But when you look at some of the games, they're the Power Rangers here, Crazy Kings, WWE, Wrestling, Battlepalooza. And so this is definitely a very big player with a lot of liquidity. But something that I think is even cooler, guys, is this Future Play right here, okay? Future Play enters this deal as a liquidity partner on the behalf of Turbo Token. Over $3 million in Turbo was provided by us to make this deal happen. So obviously they purchased $3 million in Turbo. Okay, they're going to be launching a custom-built Turbo Casino that will accept Turbo as in-game currency, guys. That is extremely bullish. Okay, so I don't know, is it slot machines, blackjack, all that's going to be using the Turbo Toad? And so do they have a hot wallet incorporated into the platform, and you use that as your wallet and you can win Turbo, lose Turbo? I don't know, but I think it's really cool. It's bringing utility to the Turbo token, and that's really what Turbo needs. Right here, they have Solana integrated here. So I think it's a very good opportunity to add, use case for the Turbo token. They're building the team. They're saying this is going to be a summer full of announcement, guys. One thing Turbo is doing is trying to bring utility to the project, and they're doing it one thing at a time. So it's going to be going into games and stuff with Animoca Labs. I'm sure they're going to be releasing even more. And then it's going into a casino with that other company. Motoverse, who I believe is one of the sub companies of Animoca Brands, or the big company, is having a competition. They're going to incorporate Turbo into other things. The more and more it'll bring attention to this project, and I believe memes are the NFTs of this cycle, and Turbo will be the biggest beneficiary, guys.
Is there any research, though, that backs up this belief that Turbo will be the biggest beneficiary of this partnership? Why does it matter, these networks and how it affects this project that you and I have an opportunity to look at? Robby Young is all about the networks and how the strategic financial investments will affect the entire ecosystem. Yatsu is about the investment in Web3. And them together, they have created this monopoly of an approach that is advanced, that is detailed, and that is on point with the future. So what excites Robby Young, the Chief Executive Officer, about such a partnership?
The most exciting thing that pushes this change is thinking about how the ownership of property and the relatively frictionless way that you can make transactions happen in digital assets actually really benefits what we call the creator economy. And that logic applies here for game developers and content creators of any type. So the most important thing I think that I can highlight about that, roughly $30 billion of NFT transactions that I mentioned earlier, is that over 90% of that revenue went to the creators of that content.
So here's the part of the video and the research. I give you my speculation. Folks, we went through a lot today. We went through many connections, and I know that some of you may not grasp all this right away. So go and utilize that time-coded video. Oh, if you utilize that, you'll be happy you did. And you will find out why there is a huge opportunity here. My speculation is that there will be positive growth expectations for Turbo. Price volatility will always be with a coin that is considered first a meme coin. With the conditioning, the thinking, the market, people can't see past what it started as. But just like a caterpillar can change and metamorphose into something else, I need you to understand that this, with its partnership with Animoca Brands, is given this rare opportunity to collaborate in partnership, a strategic, significant partnership with a company that is worldwide and heavily connected with billionaires in the finance, in the gaming, and the restaking of Ethereum, and the betting and gambling, and the race car games, and the movie industry, and the gaming industry, and can be distributed. Think like a record label. You have a record label and you have the artist. Now, the record label is so important to the artist. The artist may not have the funds to travel and to get known, but the record labels has connections. The connections is what makes these artists wealthy. And how those contracts are formulated are the opportunity that we have here. So that is my speculation for this project.
But I know what you have to be thinking. Yatsu and Robby Young, the CEO and co-founder, executive chairman of Animoca Brands, these billionaires, they announced a collaboration on June 25th, 2024 with Turbo Token to boost their ecosystem and their engagement. A partnership. Why would we believe that these powerhouses would even know about Turbo? Do we have any evidence to say that they even know about this project? They have 500 companies, right? Well, let's find out again with the research if they even know about the Motoverse collaboration.
Firstly, if you could really talk to any of the, or a particular game specifically right now that you're excited about on the platform with the ability to take assets across various games or particular games, just something that's current.
Sure. So I think one thing I'm excited about, because I'm a little bit of a petrol head as a personal hobby, we have something that we just announced a few weeks ago called the Motorverse. And the idea behind the Motorverse is essentially creating a hub for people who just love stuff on wheels, whether it's bikes or cars. They love racing. They just love driving. And so what it is, it's an interconnected suite of games. And we've created vehicle standards, tokenized vehicle standards, so that you can buy your cars as NFTs. So you own them. They're your cars, but you can use them in many different game environments. And the important thing is that it's not just the ability to use them in multiple games, which obviously Web3 enables, but the purpose of it is not for us to just make all those games as well. This is not about, an Animoca Brands ecosystem. It's about creating some standards for which we can put our games forth, but also then connect them with other people's third-party games that also use the same kind of token standards. So we're not just presenting our own games, but we're also working with lots of other developers who will adapt the same standards. And then that means that our cars will be usable in their games, their cars will be usable in our games, etc. And that is why we ended up calling it the Motorverse, because it's the idea that, as a consumer, once you buy a car, you want to be able to drive your car everywhere, right? It doesn't make sense for for Ford to tell you can only drive your car on Ford roads. You should be able to drive it anywhere. And the same thing should be true in the digital world.
If I want to go and buy a car there today, I can do that. This is live.
It is live, although it's Although I'm going to caveat that, like all tech projects, it's a work in progress. So it's live, but we're building it out piece by piece. So we have a handful of different experiences. We have MotoGP themed motorcycle racing games. We have Formula E themed racing games. And then we have our core, we have drifting games, and we have something called Rev Racing, which is like just a general racing game.
And you can buy the cars already?
You can, yep.
And how's that going? People started buying it?
Yes, they have. The vision is very big. I think that I foresee the game industry adopting Web3 standards overall. That means that you can actually make a living off of games that have smaller audiences because the margins are much higher. So you're going to see an explosion of products that have audiences of hundreds or thousands as opposed to millions, because the monetization rate is much higher, except the product is a game instead of a piece of art. But yet the community that's formed and the relationship of content creator and customer is similar. And again, because the platform allows them to have a monetization rate of 90%, it means that you don't actually need to have massive scale to actually have a great business. So you're going to see a huge explosion of what I would call small businesses.
Memes are the biggest NFTs of this cycle, is the prediction from that researcher. And I'm looking at this and I see it clearly. Now, I have just went over some of the most in-depth research you can get on this project. See, we started with ShibaInu. We went through Bored Ape Yacht Club and we reached Turbo, and we did a comparative analysis from 2021 to present day of the indicators between those two major projects. One of the highest grossing NFT projects ever, Bored Ape Yacht Club, and one of the most explosive meme coins ever, ShibaInu. And now Turbo, both on price and the price action, the whispers turning into a roar of the community, the leadership, the partnerships, liquidity and accessibility, and it doesn't even have the listings people want to have. You need to pay attention. Can it go to zero tomorrow? Just like anything, of course. But can it go exponential? It's already starting to build the right things, and it's already in the right place and partner with the right people that could change everything for this project. How big could this be? The Motorverse and Turbo? You want to talk about utility versus meme research? I told you that you have to look at the in-between. Thinking about the future of this significant partnership, this is exactly how big this could be. You tell me if Turbo is getting utility.
200 million people have come into contact with Web3 in any form, and this is not gaming. Gaming is a small subset of that. Of that 200 million users who are in Web3 at the moment, we estimate that there's probably anywhere from 20 to 50 million of those who have played games of any type. We saw last year around 30 billion in NFT revenues. And I think that that speaks volumes, because if you think that the audience is on the order of tens of millions compared to billions in the overall game industry, even if you really don't believe in Web3 as a thing, it's already 10% of the industry. So therefore, it's a niche you have to deal with, even if it doesn't grow any further. Web3 games tend to have much higher monetization and much higher retention than their Web2 counterparts. And ownership really is that, as we call it in gaming, a re-engagement platform, right? Because you go back to it over and over because you own it. Yeah. And your approach to it is also very different in how you think about spending. And so, for example, you will spend more furnishing a home you own compared to one you rent, perhaps, because you're doing it for your own financial benefit. You see it as an investment in your property.
Now, folks, that is all I have. I hope you enjoyed this thorough breakdown of Turbo 2025. Look at the time-coded video. Support the Underdog Research Channel. And if you haven't already, you can do super thanks. You can support the channel. Be a part of the evolution of research by putting research over hype. You want to get in contact with Underdog Research Channel? Then let me go ahead and show you how. You can reach me on X at UDR_channel, which I have partnered with Indigo Saint, the Third Eye, on YouTube. And you will get research like no one else provides it. You can find me on Telegram at Underdog Metaverse Community. You can find me at my Metaverse land, voxels.com. Look up Underdog Metaverse. You can also find upcoming memberships into my communities where you can be the first to know, no filters, exclusive content, and more. And if you hadn't already known, I have an upcoming video, SWFTCOIN, the Money Trail series, which will be for my members only. Advanced research about that topic. I hope you enjoy the research. I hope that you see the connections and see how Turbo has got with the right big brother, and they may just shock the world as an underdog project that no one was talking about until it was. Thank you for watching, everyone. Until next time, this has been the Underdog Research Channel.
Tali styling sinzima abadala bathi nginenkani bathi nginjani khalemali yo hamba untu back outside like quick bandana all up from London to Santorin same story boozy who is the coke I'm boozy I follow these boys I'm foozy and I can't tell a girl I'm foozy ngane kwa the boy when he was back in Tron when I turn up ngapimba nyencane kwabi nabangani manje nahlera sengane unaruto na recipe unganhliphi madoka siphiphi nje zanto ngokhothela lela bathali umtali sinzimani abadala bathi nginenkani bathi nginjani tali nginenkinga lana emalahlani so hurt my feelings ngisakhalela nakhalimali tali umtali sinzimani abadala bathi nginenkani bathi nginjani tali nginenkinga lana emalahlani so hurt my feelings ngisakhalela nakhalimali.
I need a name.
These days I don't want issues, I don't want problems, I don't want trouble. These days I don't want power, I don't want doodle, I don't want trouble. Wangu, I don't want her and I don't want you unless it's a double. Cause these days if you're depressed for even a day then you're gonna fumble. I mean I'm telling you, kufuka kieza panda pula busuku. Sikulegela amathuba so much, I'm thinking it's juju. And if it was juju, I'd be my lemon with Caesar, I'm back in the cut. No it's not voodoo, right away explain to my woman like I'm tali sinzimani abadala bathi nginenkani bathi nginjani tali sinzimani abadala bathi nginenkani bathi nginjani tali nginenkinga lana emalahlani so hurt my feelings ngisakhalela nakhalemali.